It is going to be a jam-packed episode of the Sports Cubicle here with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, Devin Tingle, Paul Chivari, and myself, Mike Mercado. And of course, we're going to be making our Super Bowl predictions. Of course, we're going to be hitting all the crazy news that's happened throughout the week in the world of sports, Chicago and nationwide. But we have a very fun treat. We have something that we don't get to normally do. Dev, what do we have going today?
Well, today, Mercado, we actually have president of the Chicago Steel and two-time Dave Tyler USHL Executive of the Year. Only guy to win it twice, by the way, Dan Lehv. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Yes, I make my wife introduce me that way when we meet new people. So I appreciate that.
And you're still married. That's even better. So
shockingly,
Dan,
yes.
So Dan, Chicago Steel on February 18th has Blackhawks night coming up. So I just want to say, I mean, other than the Blackhawks being the mainstay of Chicago hockey that we know, is what kind of made you think to have a Blackhawks night? And more importantly, how did you get Stanley Cup champion Brian Campbell and Tommy Hawk to show up for you?
Well, we've been really fortunate. We've been at the Fox Valley Ice Arena since 2015, and we have had a partnership with the Chicago Blackhawks ever since to present a night like this, Chicago Blackhawks night. They're always extremely generous in terms of access to former players. Tommy Hawk has been a big hit coming out to our games in the past and entertaining our crowd. We've had Jim Cornelison out in the past to sing the national anthem, not just for Chicago Blackhawks night, but also for times that we've advanced to the Clark Cup finals. So they see the greater opportunity to help advance hockey in this market. We collectively work towards that from a grassroots standpoint, all the way up to the USHL where we are, to the American Hockey League where they have their affiliate in Rockford, and then obviously to the National Hockey League level. So proud to be partnered with the Chicago Blackhawks on this event and really other initiatives that we can find to help grow the game in our area.
So since you've taken over and you kind of, your family and everybody's been part of this community coming up in 2015, in the midst, if not the ending of that dynasty run, did you ever think that this market would charge and fall in love with the sport of hockey for a new generation the way it did, watching all these young cats come up? Obviously we know about the Canes and Tays and like the major mark, but the youth hockey kind of taking over and having resurgence. What has that done for you? Were you surprised how that just took off in this city, in this market?
I wouldn't say that we're surprised because of the incredible success that the Blackhawks have had and the work that they've done at the grassroots level to try and grow the game. There was always a strong presence in Chicagoland for youth hockey. That has obviously grown exponentially. What surprises me is actually we bring in a new intern class to work for the Chicago Steel every year. And those interviews, it's pretty consistent. When did you fall in love with the sport of hockey? Well, I was watching Game 6 in 2010, or I got captivated by the Blackhawks run. I was never a hockey fan until, and they'd name, Jonathan Toews came along or Duncan Keith did this. And so that's what's been incredibly impressive to me, is just seeing it firsthand, how this generation doesn't surprise me because of the work that the Blackhawks have done at the grassroots level. And we'd like to think that we contribute to that as well. But it's those conversations, those individual conversations. I was never a hockey fan, and now I want to work in the industry. I want to work in sports. I want to find a way to break in. And so, where we are on the ladder of development, being the USHL, the best 16 to 20-year-olds that come to our league, they go from here mostly to college hockey, though you do get the rare exception that makes that jump directly to the NHL. What's awesome for us is that we have this whole new generation of fans who are hockey crazed, that want to see future college and pro superstars, that want to see Macklin Celebrini come and play for us, and all of these other names that you're going to be hearing at the United Center several years from now. So it's been an awesome transformation in this market. And we do give the Blackhawks a ton of credit, and not just for the work they did on the ice, but off the ice as well.
Dan, I'm glad you brought that up because Paulie Dangerous here, he's our resident baseball expert. He does a great job of covering the league, but something he's very passionate about is minor league baseball. And something that we're very passionate here on the Sports Cubicle is the economic and the relationship between local teams and its community. And you're seeing that. I love hearing your connection with the Chicago Steel and the relocation and how you're integrating yourself, in the community. But this is something we're going to throw to Paulie with, but I wanted to ask you before we throw to Paulie is how important is it for you seeing in all the major sports where, specifically baseball, where it was a big part of the community, to kind of do the same where you guys are at, to really install yourself as a tradition, as a place to come watch the youth, as a place to honor and kind of give new life to the game. How important is that for the organization, for you, the players, the staff, to kind of being that new part of a community?
So I worked in baseball for 11 years, and one of my mentors is Mike Veck, the son of Bill Veck, who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame for owning, 4 teams. He owned the White Sox, obviously, introduced the exploding scoreboard at Comiskey Park, and brought the idea that baseball can be fun. It doesn't just have to be about wins and losses. It can be about the experience. And Mike, I think, has the best line that goes along with what you were saying. And that line is, a community doesn't need a team, but a team needs a community. And there's no truer statement. In order to do what we do at the minor league level, we need the grassroots support. We need to be involved in youth hockey. We need to be involved in various initiatives that are important to the local community in which we play. And so it's a must. It's not a want or a desire. Like we have to do that. And it's the only way that we can grow from a grassroots level. And so the Chicago Steel were in Bensonville for 15 years and then made the move to Geneva in the summer of 2015 with a change in ownership, seemingly overnight. I came into the organization in August of 2015, right as we were making the move. And we started playing that season, that 2015-16 season, in September. And so over the past 7.5 years, we've tried to grow that bond, and we've tried to do it in a bunch of different ways, certainly from a youth hockey standpoint, but also reaching out to local municipalities. Who are the nonprofits? What are the charities that we can be involved with? Where can we volunteer? How can we introduce people to the Chicago Steel? And selfishly, how do we develop our players? Because our job is to develop the players that we have, not just on the ice, but educationally as well. They're going from here to college, and so they need to have their academics in order, but as human beings. And so a lot of that is the team volunteering that we're doing, running character development assemblies in school and healthy living assemblies and things along those lines. So it's integral to what we do. And then in turn, we benefit from that. And it's wonderful to see new fans come through our doors and recognize how incredible the product that we have both on and off the ice is. And they can then go back and say, I saw these guys when, and the best thing about the minor leagues, as you guys know, baseball, hockey, just across the board, is the accessibility to players, autographs after every game, the chance to meet the players in the lobby. That they're kids. That shine hasn't worn off for a 16 to 20-year-old that's playing in the USHL. In terms of a kid coming up and asking for their autograph, that's as exciting for our players as it is for the kid that's making that request. So it's an awesome level to be at. And it goes back to, a community doesn't need a team, but a team needs a community.
Paulie?
You were mentioning that, interning or working with Mike Veck. So that just makes me think of some of the creative ways that Mike and his father brought people out to see their teams. What are some of your favorite promotions that you've done over the years that have helped attracted people to come and see the Steel?
Well, we're never going to match Vasectomy Night on Father's Day, the Mike Veck promotion in Charleston, South Carolina. Like we're just not going to be able to reach those heights. It's funny. We look back and there's a mix of irreverence that we love and trying to step outside the box and do the minor league, thing, which I think in the past probably, people look down on, and they, the minor league antics. Well, now you see it at the major league level. All these innovations of, running the bases after the game and fireworks shows and concerts on the field all started at the minor league level. At least many of them did, and now have made their way to the pro level, because you realize it has to be about fun. It has to be about entertainment. It has to be about bringing not just hockey fans to the rink, but non-hockey fans to the rink, and giving them something beyond just the sport on the ice. Like, we're confident you're going to fall in love with the best live sport on the planet on the ice, but it's those other things that we do, the teddy bear toss that we do annually, where which has become a junior hockey tradition. We didn't start it, but we certainly are proud to take part in it, where when the home team scores its first goal of the night, everyone tosses a stuffed animal onto the ice, and it's donated to charity. We've done Blades of Steel night, going back to the old video game Blades of Steel, and had a blast with that. I'm trying to think of the best of on the spot. They all seem to blur together, and again, some of them won't rise to the same level of a Vecchian type promotion, but it's the idea that, can we get people to the rink, give them a compelling reason to come here, and once they come here, they're going to fall in love, and then the ability to do it affordably. Like, that's what we're selling. We're selling a $10 ticket, free parking, affordable concessions, and for your kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. This is as cool as it gets for them. It doesn't matter that the player in the jersey isn't getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to play. For them, it's the experience that it's all about. So it's been awesome.
Dev?
Well, Dan, if you're ever looking for another promotion, you can have Sports Cubicle night. The kids could try to race us on the ice, and we'll fall on our faces constantly because we're old men, and these kids just glide right past us. But I did want to ask Dan.
Slingshot bowling. We do human slingshot bowling during intermission. So
there we go, guys.
You guys are certainly eligible to participate.
There's 3 of us. But Dan, I just want to say, you've been in this team since about 2015 now. And what would you say is your greatest accomplishment so far? Like, what you're most proud of that you've done since coming in here?
It hasn't been me. It's been the group of people that we have. And that's probably what I'm most proud of, is that the development aspect has translated and permeated our organization at every level. We've moved players on to collegiate hockey and ultimately to the pros. Certainly, we can point to recent successes, having the #1 overall pick in the draft in Owen Power 2 years ago, who's now having success at the NHL level with the Buffalo Sabres. To us, is just as awesome as Mark Johnstone, who came in here, didn't have the buzz around him in 2015, 2016, became our captain the following year, went off, had a successful career at Sacred Heart, became the captain there, and is now in the American Hockey League with the Toronto Marlies, having success. I think he had 2 game-winning goals, or 2 goals in the last week. And so it's a combination of those stories of, the really highly touted players that we've been fortunate to work with and develop, and have success in the NHL draft. That year that Owen got drafted, we had 3 picks in the first round, with Matt Coronado to the Flames and Mackie Samoskevich to the Florida Panthers. This year, Adam Fantilli is going to go either number 1, 2, or 3. 1's probably taken at this point after Connor Bedard's performance at the World Juniors, but perhaps number 2, perhaps number 3. And he's having an unbelievable year at the University of Michigan right now. So he's a Hopey Baker candidate as a freshman. But then on the coaching side, we lost our coach a month before this season began, Brock Sheehan. Why? Because he got a job at the Carolina Hurricanes as the head coach of the Chicago Wolves. How awesome is that? And Greg Moore before him, moving from the Chicago Steel to the Toronto Marlies as their head coach. 2 years earlier, Dan Muse, who helped us win a Clark Cup in 2016-17, goes from our bench to an assistant coach for the Nashville Predators in the National Hockey League. Ryan Hardy, our general manager, now an assistant general manager with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So those are the types of stories that I think we're proudest of really sticking to development. Yes, we've hung banners and we've won 2 Clark Cup championships. That's awesome. It's about development here, and the way that we've done it, I would like to think is unmatched in junior hockey, at least the style and way that we've gone about it. And so that's what we're proudest of.
Dan, this is something that I really wanted to run by you. And, if you could tell by our significant others, we like to talk and engage with people who are way, way, way smarter than us here on the Sports Cubicle. So obviously you are here classing up the place and making us all seem smarter and giving us some credentials, some benefides, if you will. But this is something I want to run by you, right? Where we're in a new age of sports. Things are changing and we incorporate different teachings. We learn from mistakes, right? And here locally, it was a gut punch. Some of the news that came out from the Blackhawks and the lawsuit and everything. And it's something we've covered here. And then on the ice, the way the sport changes, whether it's rule changes and implementing them. The Chicago Steel, the organization, the family. How open have you guys been? Are you guys to being open to changes, to adapting to when something like that happens, to install it in the age group that your athletes are, the fan base, the community, to see some of these things that have happened, whether it's the Big Brother organization, all the way down to the local mom and pop bakery, to install and make sure that you're in the forefront of innovation and also making sure that you're keeping up with everything social, because these are athletes that are going to be part of our community. How important is that as an organization? Somebody like you who is so well respected that the Chicago Steel are doing that.
It's a great question. And you touched on it in the question, the age group that we have. We are so fortunate that we get the players at this, and we're a young team for our league. So mostly 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And we have a unique opportunity to help shape the future hockey culture. And we take that really seriously. And so it's a big part of what we do, how we go about our business. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we're not just developing hockey players, we are developing young men. They are in our care, some of whom are away from home for the first time. They live with host families in this area. I think we only have one player from this market, from Chicagoland, on our current roster. So the other 24 guys are from all over, some outside the United States. And so it's this network of our coaches and our staff here at the rink, our housing families at home, our education coordinator who's working with them academically, all teaming up to try and mold and develop these 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And this is what's happened in this market. Certainly has resonated throughout the hockey world and the hockey community. And we reached out to the Blackhawks shortly after and said, how can we help? What initiatives can we partner on? Can we push forward? Because we're fortunate. We get these players at this age where we feel like we can make an impact that's then going to resonate in locker rooms for years to come. And we work with USA Hockey as well on that and various initiatives. So it's top of mind and something that we think about every day.
Dan, we could do this all day. Dev's going to bring us home in just a second. You guys have awesome stuff coming up. But before we let you go, is there anything, we're here in Chicagoland. We're here to support. We love youth hockey here. We think there's something great about just general, whether it's sports, club sports, or it's, your music, whatever. There's something about the youth being active that, we're all about here on WCPT, on the Sports Cubicle. And before we let Dev kind of tag it all and bring it all home, is there anything that you want Chicagoland to know? Anything that any way they can support, any way they can enjoy what you guys are doing, the awesome stuff you and the team are doing over at the Chicago Steel?
Come to a game. That's the biggest thing, is if you haven't been to a Chicago Steel game, come see us at the Fox Valley Ice Arena in Geneva. As I mentioned, tickets start at $10. There's free parking, and the product you're going to see on the ice, these are future NHL players. They're future collegiate stars on our roster right now. I mentioned him before, Macklin Celebrini, who is projected right now as the potential #1 overall pick in the 2024 draft. We have several players that have already been selected by NHL teams and others that will this coming June. Beyond that, It's family fun. It's affordable. It's entertainment. There's a theme every night. We have Chicago Blackhawks night, as you mentioned, coming up on the 18th of February. The following day, we have a sports card giveaway, Chicago Steel trading cards that we'll be giving away. Coming up over the course of the year, we have military appreciation night. We have wiener dog races. You can enter your dachshund to take the ice during intermission and participate in our annual wiener dog races. We mentioned slingshot bowling. There's always something fun that's going on. It's a night of entertainment akin to minor league baseball. And so if you haven't been to a Steel game, make plans to join us. We still have a dozen or more home games over the course of the year, and we hope to make a long playoff run as well.
A huge shout out to you, Dan, to the Chicago Steel, to Rachel, and of course, our amazing, the best producer and co-host Devin for setting this all up. Dev, you want to bring us home, my guy?
Sure. Dan, if they want to buy tickets, where should they go?
ChicagoSteelHockeyTeam.com. We couldn't get a longer website address, so we had to stick just with ChicagoSteelHockeyTeam.com.
Thank you, Dan. That was President of Chicago Steel, Dan Lehv. And I mean, unless you want me to call you President of Chicago Steel, and again, two-time Dave Tyler USHL Executive of the Year, only two-timer, Dan Lehv, whichever you prefer.
It's all on the business card. Don't worry. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Guys.